Good morning, APAC. We are coming back for the top cut of the Online Megacity. I am one of your commentators, Cephalopod Wizard, he, him, and I am joined by Thrantar.
Hello. It's a
And
pleasure
with
to be here.
Yeah, we are very excited to be here. The top cut is starting in about 1 minute. We have to choose very quickly who do we want to watch. And we see that by incredible coincidence, Aesop's tables picked the sides the players already wanted to play. Excellent new feature, just seeing the future. With that in mind, we
That's
have
how it
John.
works.
Go ahead.
So is that how it works? I have some
That is how it works.
excellent. So are any of these matches sticking out to you?
Uh, Nuvem is a very new to playability, and I think it would be exciting to take a look at Nuvem. You want to look at table two?
1 second, let me switch my. There we go. Yeah, I can open non-table 2 and ask. 1 second.
Yeah, and I think that we're probably allowed to stream everyone at this point, for it is the top cut. All right, and thank you, Scarius. Good morning. Coming at you from Saturday evening here on the United States West Coast.
On Saturday later evening here on the United States East Coast.
Yeah, seems like a skill issue to be living in the wrong time zone.
All right, we are good to stream on table.
All right, so we see Nuvem SA coming out of Prof Wacko, and whoops, wrong window. This is this is a scoring deck based on the newfangled technology of not messing around with any 1 pointers. We just play 3 pointers and 2 pointers, and we are going to score to 7. And we start. We got Ice on HQ running R&D. Ting Feng is on Hoshiko with a slightly larger than normal deck size. I think we just saw that was a 48 card deck. I guess you don't have to go. Yes. Well, no, I think this is double Elim, so maybe APAC team stab on this one. But if I could name two resources I'd like to have down on turn one, these are the two. We have Banhar, we have Paladin Puemu.
These certainly are pretty good, especially among the resources in this deck list. I could envision wanting to have down a open marker or something along those lines. But these are certainly two very excellent ones to have in your opener.
All right, Prof Wacko not resing the ice just to deny the redraw on raindrops.
Mhm.
And we see an Antil go down, but also Nuva managed to resolve two petty cash hits, both of which you trashed off the top for Nuvem. So that's the corp's pretty wealthy right now. This is probably why we're seeing Nuvem make a huge splash, because
It's a very good company at just making money.
yeah, and now that
And
everyone else has drastically reduced capacity to make money, suddenly this is the best game in town.
there's only two ways down so far for the corp here. 13 credits, probably more than enough to res both those pieces of ice, although looking at this particular list, again, there's no BOAC in this list.
Yeah, and that is part of
This
the
thing here is a hammer.
and that is part of the whole rejection of 1 pointers, because if you ever score a 1 pointer, you are committing yourself to scoring extra agendas to win the game, which turns out to be hard in today's day and age. All right, key performance indicators. Also, fantastic looking card in Nuvem today. We can play it, get 3, and try to get whatever value you can from the other modal. Just holding an ice, ignoring all costs, not bad. It'll only get better and better. And continuing to choose Nuvem and just trash off the top for money. And you can
Just saying a
kind of
push
do
of some
this.
variety in
Yeah.
one.
So possible upgrades that we are playing.
Malapert Data Vault and the Hollow Man
Yes.
are the only two upgrades in this list.
Probably don't need, if that was the Hollow Man, we probably wouldn't need to advance the agenda, but now we have 2 ice, and we're going to just make the call and ask the Corp to res them both, but I'm betting the Corp is ready to res them both. And Maskarovka, and a fairly honest, it's just there to stop Banhar from getting all 3 through. On the inside, we have a Logjam. An okay starting strength on the Logjam. You got 2 different card types that are face up.
This is also just a lot of card draw from these raindrops. Rolling 3 to Maskarovka subs, and then also the first Logjam sub.
And we have got the runner in the position where, okay, the Banhar fun is over. Go find your Fractor now. And that'll give the Corp a minute to, at the very least, score this. But in the meantime, the twinning is down, and it's going to be pretty easy to just charge this up. So the Corp will have to come up with a solution to make sure the runner doesn't just win by R&D locking them.
And especially this twinning being down, that means that the Banhar fun is not, in fact, over. I am happy to take 2 or 3 net damage for a triple access on R&D or HQ. So HQ might need a second ice. R&D might need 2 more ice, even, if we're trying to stop a twinning run.
Ooh, Hollow Man was the upgrade. Now, Hollow Man lets you advance a 5-3 all the way from 0. So perhaps this is a play. Okay, it is. Prof Wacko has gone down to 0 credits.
Yeah, getting the Assault Spire scored is certainly nice. The 0 credits, I think, is a bit less nice. And there's no Rashida now to jam in this server to just sort of instantly rebuild, given it in 1 turn.
Now, importantly, the cost of using the Basalt Spire is to trash the top card of R&D, which does give you Nuvem dollars. So in a sense, there's 4 credits waiting on this Basalt Spire. Alright. Power Man has to go. Fair enough. Twinning, charging up. And now the Corp needs to, like, while the runner has set up to just have a runaway train of an economy, the Corp does need to reset and take a minute to reestablish himself.
Especially this runaway train of an economy that we're going for here with the Kaiko, with the Paladin, with the Mystic. It's being backed up by this twinning, which is going to farm just 1 counter return for the rest of the game in all likelihood, or something very, very close to it.
Yeah, and among the stuff that you could try to recover with is there's the key performance indicators, but if you use the Basalt Spire to get that back, then you've used up your Nuvem trigger for the turn, and that's one of the best features of key performance indicators, is that it triggers Nuvem.
Mm-hmm.
So, Corp money, even as much as we hyped up Nuvem getting 2 credits a turn, it can dry up, and I don't think we've seen much more than KPI and petty cash resolve so far. So now it would be, Well, I'd say it would be a great time to go play hedge fund, but you don't have $5.
Hmm.
So understandably, having to plan out how you're going to get your bank accounts back up, and you know, tell your tell your shareholders that I swear I will not be bankrupt tomorrow. And Descent, you do see you do get to Trevor Newham based off of Descent.
Hmm.
And that is going to shuffle drone deployment from HQ back into R&D, which is an R&D. It's a toss up on whether it's safer. I don't know if I don't think HQ ice is getting rezzed this coming turn, but also, R&D looks really unsafe right now with the twinning. And
Hmm.
wow, the runner's economy. The runner could buy out this corp right now. But choosing not to check out the top of R&D, flipping Hoshiko back over to the side, and we're seeing even further setup for the future. Leech is going to be a really important card when you have to actually break a logjam that might be a little advanced.
Hmm. So there is the possibility. Okay, seamless launch coming down here.
Oh, we might be getting away with the crime of the century. Because what you can do is, if this is a off the books, you can seamless launch this, advance, and score it out with an agenda counter, and then immediately cash that in to go get the next 2-pointer and put it in the remote. Because if the game is about the runner needs to find a fractor now, and you
Hmm.
can take the bet that maybe they haven't.
We're just seeing half their deck, a trifle more. And this list is actually on just 2 Rising Tides, it looks like.
Yeah, Banhar classically being enormous an enormous tool that makes it so that you don't need to have a whole bunch of fractors until suddenly you do.
So we had a very long think about whether or not this was Basalt for the Seamless back. It is off the books with the counter.
And we're gonna all right. So in preparation for the fact that the runner might have just managed to find the fractor, Logjam going up to 6 strength, and now this becomes a serious issue to get through with honest money on a Rising Tide that's only got 1 strength. That's like a coup repair without any good half of it.
So I think getting through once is still pretty doable. 13 credits is a lot of money. There's going to be a Paladin to help pay for the potential Rising Tide. But this is looking like I'm just going to jam an agenda here, and you don't have it, and scoring is you basalt back the Seamless,
Checking archives.
you Seamless credit advance is
Oh no,
like that is
looks like Ting Peng did not find the tool to get into the remote. So this is the perfect quick escalation from I have 3 points to I have 5 points and the win next turn. And now you just use the Basalt Spire, get back to your seamless launch for money and the advancements you need.
all right. Yes, also the credits. Yeah, nice and easy. And here actually we see off the books doing something that Project Atlas could not have.
Yeah,
The
getting that
free
install to
here.
so we have the new version of the Atlas train, except it occurs on the table.
but is perhaps just a touch faster some of the time.
And Prof Wacko making the correct call that the runner hadn't found the rising tide yet. All right, let's see who is still online. We've got Sable versus Isawak. That feels like that might be a matchup that possibly takes us through the whole round. Do you want to check in on table 3?
Yeah, let's go check in on table 3. I believe this is also the only Isawak in the top event.
Oh, this table's getting tall. This Sable deck has Light the Fire? Not yet, it doesn't. All right, coming in for the pinhole, we do have a very threatening remote. Anoetic Void is going to let you score just about anything, and the Corp has plenty of credits compared to the runner's 1 credit. But we see that the runner has been doing well. Baby Shark already has a Send a Message and a Fuji Asset Retrieval. And checking for actions, because there's always the chance that this is a fake out.
Up the Spin Doctor.
The Corp maybe and probably should pop the Spin Doctor in case the runner says, surprise, I'm going for the Spin Doctor, and then you run archives and find agendas in there.
Right. Now, Pinhole notably is a mandatory replacement.
It is.
But there's no world in which this run is checking archives.
There's not. But of course the threat is that if the runner trashes the Spin Doctor, then suddenly next click the runner is checking archives. Although I see that I think this might have been a boomerang to get through this Fly Swatter.
This was a boomerang to get through this Fly Swatter.
Yeah, so the proper breaker is not online yet. And this looks a lot like Iswak is setting up to clicklessly score a 5-3 for the ID power counter.
And if that's a Fuji, the net damage could be pretty relevant here. Baby Shark's going to get just 2 cards in grip, which is not currently lethal, especially with this little bit of draw.
Okay, running through the Fly Swatter. Or just running into the Fly Swatter. I don't see a way through it right now. Yeah, fair enough. Wait, actually.
But if there are decoders in hand and they're about to get sniped by a Fujimi sword, that could be really awkward here, actually. And there are not a lot of free credits, so it's going to be.
The runner did just make an ambitious play to possibly cheat some agenda waiting in archives. And this could just be a doctor to save the agendas that Baby Shark put at risk by trashing the last Spin Doctor. So unfortunately, not being able to immediately touch archives, and this may have been the evaluation that Hectorist was making. He was thinking, I don't think you can actually come back in this turn. But that is a Light the Fire. And it's a very good time to be thinking, because there's a lot you can do with this Light the Fire. I don't know if you have the resources to get through this remote, but you could immediately pop it and threaten this Spin Doctor. So if the Corp doesn't Spin Doctor right now, you can Light the Fire it. And then you cannot save agendas with the Spin Doctor.
This is also probably the last turn of the game.
It looks
or at least Baby Shark has to strongly consider the possibility that this is the last turn of the game. Agenda slow cooks and then gets seamless, like a 4-2 being scored here. triggers ISVAC, and that's 5 points of the 5 required.
Yeah. And importantly, there is a side hustle just about ready to pop. So it's very, very barely too slow to probably get you through this brand and this remote server. So perhaps we are playing at. Perhaps we're planning to just secure whatever archives might be in. Just to secure the agendas and archives. All right, a credit short, which might be unfortunate. That might be a boomerang to get through the fly swatter and then try to just steal archives.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, like a click short on the side hustle, because I think previous click, maybe you could have tried to get through the brand with clicks, and then the side hustle money carries you through the rest of the server. So now checking
Right.
HQ, get to spend. Now you have that sudden influx of money, but all we see is a Vampira Nasa. And now, not enough money to break it all. So going to allow tag and net damage to fire, but another squid in HQ.
Or perhaps the same squid in HQ.
I choose to believe that everyone runs 3 squids.
Like here they get their tentacles into everything.
And there was indeed a boomerang in hand. One. But agendas and archives? No. There was no agendas in archives. This play to try to disable the spin doctors. Ultimately, there was no agendas to be had. And that escalated quite quickly. Let's see, how are we doing? We have 24 minutes left in the round. That was table 2 and table 3. I'm going to back us out. Let's see.
I'm going to check in on table 4, maybe, if BTL's not still going.
Yeah, somehow I feel like Alco should be very close to done by now.
All right, we're good to go on table 4.
All right, we see here Augustus Caesar on Built to Last with the stained glass alt art. And then we see Cyberspace Panda on Hoshiko with all the breakers, a leech, and a fermenter, and a bank account full of money. And on Augustus Caesar's side, we see 2 Bioax.
3 Bioax. Also a 12 strength logjam.
Yeah. And this is
so
not
while
this is not the usual Bioac. This is a little less intimidating.
So while in some sense, Cyberspace Panda has 16 credits, great credit total. In another sense, 16 credits and a 1 strength Rising Tide and an Echelon does not go incredibly far against a 12 strength Logjam and 3 res Bioax. Although this angle here to farm archives a little bit could do some good value.
Yeah, running archives to get 2 credits to value every time. That feels like magnum opus, especially when you know you will be able to spend all of the counters. But with that in mind,
we're going to see a score on the Tucana, which will probably put something on archives to go stop this nonsense.
Yeah, now it is gonna cost you only one virus counter, but now it's gonna cost you credits, and now suddenly this isn't free. And also, Tucana only gives you a 3 credit discount total. So putting anything on the other servers, you probably don't want to be paying actual money to get your Tucana score.
Yes. So one thing I am curious is if we're going to see Augustus play over the next couple of turns, going to put a first advancement counter on these Akets, and then maybe think about coming back for the second and third advancement counter.
Yeah, and Augustus pointing out, take your time. 20 minutes. We have so much time to finish this game. And while Augustus Caesar is ahead on agenda points, this could change really quick because there's a fully loaded twinning and the corp is down to 13 cards. There's a lot of agenda points that ought to be in play by now.
Mm-hmm.
Right, taking the damage on Aket, it's just 2 cards, not a big deal. And then the leeches going a long way on the Iswak, then you just end up paying 1 credit per subroutine on the Echelon. And Echelon is the real savings. You don't want to have to use that.
Yes, that boost is a little painful.
And cash in all the leech counters, and we still end up with some horrifying 11 credits to break the logjam. So there goes a lot of the money. All right, there's 1 2-pointer.
But there are 12 credits left for Cyber State's Panda here. This is representing a probably second time in. If you get it one more time, especially with the Fermenter pop, going to be another 8 credits.
Yeah, there's definitely one more good run in there from the runner. And it could be on the remote, which is a frightening proposition.
Honestly, probably 2 more runs for the runner. Yeah, here we're seeing a little event the Akat. I'm
looking at Augustus
I guess with
Caesar's...
the Banhar, it doesn't matter tremendously, honestly.
And
so
Augustus
Banhar,
Caesar is playing 3 Charlottes. So this could be just the Charlotte bluff, win or no win in the remote. If you guess wrong, then you got to spend 12 credits on it. In the meantime, down to 11 cards. We are about 4/5 of the way through the deck, a little less. So expecting to see about 16 agenda points have been drawn somewhere by now. So that's about 6 more than are currently in score areas. There, it looks like there's agendas possibly in HQ, possibly pulling that 50-50 on what's in the remote.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no Charlottes in the discard pile. We do end up putting Banhar on R&D. It's not going through a particularly threatening piece of ice. Aket's going to cost you 2 to 3 credits anyways. So it's a very well-placed piece of ice to prevent Banhar from neutralizing a much more expensive piece of ice.
The descent, yes. And of course, Banhar does not fully neutralize a message husk, where there's still going to be the little bit of credit drain from movement.
Yeah, very
the counter.
Very spiteful decision to just play Messner Chestfo, keep getting the advancement on built to last. I bet HQ has probably not been something the runner wants to challenge over the course of this game. And just clicking up for credits, calling that is the Charlotte and not the Win.
And he's about to find out how right he is. Or perhaps how wrong he is. We will discover shortly.
All right, I think the runner called right. If that was not a Charlotte, then I don't think Augustus Caesar would have to think about this. Although perhaps this is the 5-3. Is actually, are there 5-3s? I don't see any 5-3s. Yeah, it is a Charlotte. Might have been considering, do I want to draw the card because that makes you more vulnerable to bringing more agendas into play. Because despite the Mesnechestvo ability, HQ is still the cheapest place to get into.
Mm-hmm. So the companions are going to be a little bit unruly here.
We have gotten up to 3. I bet Taka will be eminently possible to spend. Maybe we'll see.
Because what a tag? Tagger self-fresh, right.
And Banhart targets archives. That is exciting, but probably just recognizing that it doesn't really matter. Banhar's not going to be doing anything to the other remotes with huge ice on them. Clean getaway. We are spending the entire Mamie.
Nice value.
Just trading some cards and checking and just determining that server 1 was obeyed. It was just a spin doctor. So very, very clean, cheap way to determine the win was not in the remote. And now more cards have been put into the deck.
Yes. I mean, honestly, the Archives run is pretty cheap. Like those are R2 leech counters. Like it's a 2-credit rebate. 6 credits from the clean getaway. There's lots of credits actually to just keep getting in. Superchat's fund probably has maybe even 4 runs left in R&D at server 1, and maybe some poking on HQ in addition.
Yeah. All right. Checking out 3 cards. Oh, finding the 1-pointer. That's not what you want. Now this cost a lot of money, and it emptied the companions, but the runner's credits total, he still has a very gigantic bank account. I never have 16 credits in my games. All right, checking HQ. It's it.
And with these leeches in the bus hall, like the breaking is very cheap here.
Getting the 1-pointer did get it. And as Augustus did not install didn't install the real agenda, the agendas have to be piling up in HQ.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good call, and indeed a rough way to look at your remote that the runner can get into. So you keep installing garbage, and then the runner just keeps not checking out the garbage.
Let's see these 2 green mails, and then like Augustus knows he can score from hand the final 2 points potentially, depending on the order that they come out in.
Yep, you just have to have the 2-pointer in hand and this slash and burn in hand, and hope the runner finds neither.
Well, no, you just score green mail twice. Is what I'm saying.
That is true, because that was 1 green mail off the top. That if the runner didn't get it, then Augustus would have 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that might be the results. Yep, everything is reported. So it looks like a Jai, Prof. Wacko, Wenjong, and Cyberspace. Wait. Yep, Cyberspace Panda winning the rounds. This is a double elimination. So all these players, everyone who lost this round, still has one more life to go. And then with that, we have Cut 2 ready to go. We have Nuvem, Op, and Aoko versus Hoshiko, Sable, and Lat. Well, I think I'm most excited to watch Nuvem. You want to check out Table 5? Why do the table numbers count
Table
up like
5
this
doesn't
in the
have
top cut?
Nuvem. Table 5 doesn't have Nuvem. If you're excited to watch Nuvem, why are we watching Table 5?
No, I'm sorry. I want to watch Op, Super Heavy Logistics.
Okay. I'd be happy to watch Table 5.
We do have the bracket coming in that we can take a look at. So we have the upper bracket, Jai and Prof. Wacko facing off, as well as Wenjong and Cyberspace, and they come through the lower bracket. Hotel, Foxtrot, Ting Feng, Baby Shark, and Augustus Caesar all fighting for this one slot to go back up into the upper bracket, and they have quite a bit of Netrunner ahead of them.
Indeed. Lots of games to be played yet.
Five. All right. I am in. Taking a quick look at the deck lists. All right, this op deck, taking a quick look, I see Above the Law, Azef, Off the Books, Drone Deployment. So it looks like we're planning to score a bunch of 2-pointers and 2 drone deployments. Doing this Cyber Sand and Humanoid Resources. That's a very fun new card for op. And then we have, all right, I see in this op list a very fun card that I'm a huge proponent of. Envelopment comes in with 5 subroutines. And I'm not going to mention the I'm not going to discuss in the chat, but I'm very excited to see the possibility of Banhar just running face first into an envelopment to taking 5 net damage. I killed someone with that out of Nebula. They did not see it coming.
I remember I got a Banhar kill in 2023 US Nats. Adam had to always be running and ran into a very long agreement.
An endless end user license agreement, if you will.
Yes.
That is the classic. It had the misfortune of being born into a cleaver meta where that would cost you 3 credits. But it was the funny card.
Yeah, the cleaver meta was not great for it. Before Elevation released, Crew was also pretty not great for it.
I don't know. I think Chisel was out of favor by the time that this was coming up, but also any low strength ice at one point we were talking about how it just died to Chisel.
Mm-hmm.
And we were so excited that Chisel would finally let us get through a tour guide on the cheap.
All right, so you're excited to see she also got this obelisk.
Yeah, some of the notable things I'm looking at at the upgrade section, we have Mitra Amon, just strong card. It dunks on boomerangs. It lets you bring back these conditional ice that have on res effects. And we've got the Hollow Man and Tucana. You can
Mhm.
search for those. Awesome. And Zato City Grid. That's exciting.
Yeah, so I'm certainly noticing the fact that there are a full 3 Stavka.
Yeah. Yep. Stavka is just it causes a bit of a problem for those rigs that are just they think they can get away with playing echelon and not pay a lot of credits to be safe. I'm checking to
Mm-hmm.
see is there also a half rune in here. Yes, there is. So we have the combo. You res a Stavka, trash something that costs 3, put a half rune on the remote, and you point at their killer and say you cannot break anything with that as they're approaching your Stavka. And then once you're done with that, then you can throw a Stavka at them with your Zato City Grid and trash your program anyway. So there is a strong rig shooting element to this. That's
Mm-hmm.
going to take some careful navigation to get around.
And like especially if you set up a Stavka in front of a strong ETR.
However, in a Bandhar meta, now we're talking about first you got to get the ETR, then you got to get the Stavka, then you got to get a Bandhar blocker so that you're not just doing net damage with your Stavka. So there is a little ways to go before the Corp has this unassailable Exodia combo. Let's see, how much time do we have before the start? We have 40 seconds. Oh, I really thought this wouldn't change screens on me. Okay. Infinite. I don't know why going full screen did that to me, but it did. And we may begin. All right, we're in. It was quiet there. It's weird that my ISP had sabotaged me again. We take the mandatory, click to draw, card in remote. Sure looks like an anthill setup. So
Or humanoid. This is also on 2 humanoid resources, I believe.
yeah, and we have the perfect response to Randar's Cupstone. Usually expect to have to go down a little bit to go challenge the remote, but then Massacre
Oh, this
is
promote is still being
cheap.
challenged. Rising Tide coming down.
Rising Tide down. It did cost the runner 4 credits. Boost, boost, break, break. So, a little bit of a trade. All those early cards to stop the.
Okay. Well, you've dealt with first humanoid resources, yes, but what about second humanoid resources?
What about. Oh no. A doorway is very awkward if you're trying to get past a Stavka. This is just a whole lot of stuff installed. And we're just resolving Anthill, but the credits are looking important right now.
Mm-hmm.
And also, of course, now that the runner has programs on the table, now Stavka is a threat. Part of the way that you get around Wayland sentries is you just don't install your programs yet, and then they can't trash your programs.
Well, the entirety of their century speed is 3 Stavka, 2 Tithe. And actually, wait, these are okay. These are in alphabetical order. In the okay, sure. Also, I believe Boomy is a sentry.
I do wish Aesop's tables would look a little more like Netrunner DB for the card list. But
Just going tall.
we're just going tall. We do threaten the not an envelopment murder, but we do have the 3 ice combo with a Banhar blocker and possibly a Stavka in the middle to cause the runner problems.
So there are 2 twinnings in the Soshiko list, which could maybe make these open centrals look like a bit of a liability later.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to respect central pressure until the runner's on 5 points, and then suddenly you should have respected it 5 turns ago. All right, we have the first op trigger of the game, and there's so much good stuff you can get off of the anthill trash. The Hollow Man is sick. Let's see. We do have a variety of 2-cost ice. And I'm looking to see, do we have a... I'm looking to see if there's a regolith mining lesson here. I do not see one, but looks like we're searching for a Tucana. So this other upgrade in here could be the Hollow Man already. It could just be... I'm looking at the wrong deck list. I'm looking at Jai's deck list.
There are quite a few Hoshikos playing in the top cut here.
All right, well, the clown car is fully assembled. Not quite enough money to operate the clown car, but once it's online, then Tucana will start just shoring up your centrals for you as you keep scoring. I know that I would have really liked to resolve one more hedge fund before trying to fire up the clown car, but the runner does need to be afraid of Stavka just being thrown at them with Zato.
I mean, trashing the Rising Tide will only make the next one stronger.
Well, that's why you got to trash the Odore. Odore looking pretty. If I could pick the worst possible numbers to have to use an Odore into, Stavka is it. Because you'd have to boost 3 times and then pay 2 before you're online. So that would cost you 11 credits to break a Stavka that's powered up.
1 second.
Sure thing. And the runner discards a Katurga Breakout. It is a slightly expensive way to go, but Hotel Foxtrot going to get away with a score of Azef Protocol. Awesome. And trashing that unresed ice on R&D. No op trigger, but there's few options of what to actually throw out. So now you have a Masquerade on R&D, and now things are looking a little more secure. Only went down a little bit. And of course, the runner lost a Sure Gamble and a Leech from that Azef score. Far from the end of the world. Leech is a powerful card, but it can always be substituted for with money. And now it's time to check HQ. Keep the Corp honest. Find a Kessler.
Truly, it is as they say, leeches can be exchanged for goods and services.
Leeches can be traded for goods and services. All right, Spin Doctor. I'm hoping for money if I'm the corporation. We rather urgently need to get the credits up because these 2 ice don't do anything if you can't afford to res them.
Yes, there is no hippo in the room.
No hippo in the room?
Indeed, no hippo in the room.
I suppose. I mean, there's no hippo in my room. Right, new card in the remote, but only 5 credits to defend it this time. And the price, we end up getting a leech. Nothing else. There's a duplicate Banhar, a strike fund, and then Buzzsaw is here. The entire Breaker Suite is here. But this was a turn taken off, so Hoshu flips, burner bank account continues to go up. But whatever this is in the remote, the corp gets to get away with it too. Off the books.
So, I mean, the thing to keep in mind here as the runner is you talked about the corpse credit total, and I agree it is pretty low, but it is also almost certainly 3 higher than displayed for any runs against server 1.
That is true. There's a Mitra Amon that is very likely to be hiding in there. And we did see one accessed in HQ that the runner chose not to trash. Right, and Tucana, very handily giving you that 3 credit rebate on your agenda scores to now have central defenses that the runner has to pay real money to come through and check.
Mm-hmm. So raindrops come down. Okay, it's a Banhar run.
Yep, and then the steel skin hits the bin, so this is basically just playing the steel skin whilst getting an anthill out of R&D. And Bravado. I do believe this Hoshiko deck is spending a lot of influence on Bravado and Clean Getaway. If you're going to have a run-based economy and your in-faction cards are just that good, why not use a ton of influence just to get Dirty Laundry back?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, droids. Top Cut is going great. We are currently watching Ting Fang and Hotel Foxtrot in the lower bracket. I really like to see Op trying to make it happen. And so far, Hotel Foxtrot has been successfully managing to deal with the fact that he's not drawing money cards to just score agendas while the runner's still a little bit scared. But I think now that the corp is down low enough, you're not so much scared of the runner anymore. Or the runner doesn't have to be scared of you.
So now with Mitra, there is still the potential for a Stavka res.
And there are 3 costers abound, but
although currently the
Banhar
runner doesn't actually have 11 credits to
actually
break.
no, Banhar's
normally,
not pointed at the remote. So currently, if you don't pull some dirty trick with Hafrun, the runner can actually afford to break the Stavka because you leech it down to 6, and then you can boost break for 8 credits, which the runner has right now. All right, possibly just cashing in the Mitra for the credits before stuff goes down. And that looks like shuffling the Hafrun back into the deck, I'm guessing. Get the HQ ice out, and then Hafrun. All right, looks like we are going to do some damage to the runner. And choosing to trash the Rising Tide and the Buzzsaw, not the Odore, just disrespecting the Odore. Now the runner's rig is a little in shambles. There's definitely replacements to be had. There's no further copies of Buzzsaw. I think there's a Rising. Did I see a Rising Tide that was already in here?
There is one Rising Tide currently in the heat.
All right. Well, we can expect Rising Tide will be back online. And now, if there's a Zato in here, then Stavka can eat the Fractor again. But the Corp currently does not have money. But Maskarovka buying some serious time because, regardless of how little money the Corp has, the runner doesn't have the Fractor to go pillage R&D. Server 1's still targeted, but I bet the priority right now is find the replacement breakers.
Yep, definitely drawing up, looking for that Fractor to come down. Now, looking at this list, there is one copy of Ashen. There are 2 Katorga breakouts. It's going to be very hard to entirely block all the Fractors out.
Yeah, this Hoshiko is well
So
prepared.
actually, both Katorga breakouts are currently in the heat. There is one Ashen. There is, which could potentially rebuy any number of things, or potentially could.
Regolith gonna get to resolve that and finally get credits into the double digits.
Well, next turn, ideally.
Next turn, ideally. Unfortunately, the runner managed to get far enough to force you to res the Fly Swatter, so the Corp had to click for a credit and hit Regolith twice.
Mm-hmm.
The companion engine's still ticking along. Paladin is making so much money. So at this point, we really are playing to slow down the runner by making them find the recursion cards rather than the cost of actually reinstalling them. We're back in line to go through R&D. Use the twinning.
Mm-hmm.
Hollow Man's a great card to have out, but a bit unfortunate to see no agendas for the runner.
Yep.
We're halfway through the deck, and there's only 4 points on the table.
And install one HQ here, and then a 2 flex on Regoliths on those lines.
Or you could just finish the Regolith and go bring out a Tithe for HQ.
Oh, true, right. Finish the Regolith, bring out, yes, of course. You're correct. Finish the Regolith, Tithe on HQ. Or, yeah, I mean, probably HQ, yeah.
I love Op so much, it makes me think I should check out Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, and then there's, yeah.
All right, thinking hard, and the Corp is going to trash the entire Regolith mining license and go get the op value. For a Tithe on R&D, fair enough. Banhar said Tithe is just acting as a Banhar blocker right now, so that you have to actually pay through the Maskarovka, as little as it actually is currently costing the runner.
Mm-hmm.
However, you are gonna Tithe is going to fire because it costs a truly heartbreaking 5 credits to think about breaking Tithe with your Odore.
I mean, you can ban her for Tithe, but is that really
Is this an improvement?
an improvement for like Tithe Fire? Yeah, exactly.
All right, Raindrops. Banhart is on server 1, and but the Buzzsaw is here, so I bet you just pay 1 credit rather than take damage. All right. Well, I am incorrect. We are firing the half rune, which resolves as net damage due to Banhar. Fly Swatter, finally, we're ready to go through.
Gets a duplicate Odore and a duplicate Keiko.
I do love the load bearing Regolith, and it's a nice thing to have available as an option for if your Anthill contract expires but you still need more money.
There's an option to Zato the Fly Swatter here. Because the problem is if you Zato the some of the stuff get book the Rising Tide, book this Rising Tide.
I think Rising Tide is a compelling target. We're pretty sure the runner's out of those.
Yes, this is going to be a lot of draw here. Like, this is also a Raindrops run.
And,
Is the thing.
And getting an anthill just out in the middle of nowhere.
I'm a little surprised that this anthill is in server 3.
And Ting Feng chooses to bonk into the Maskarovka and give the Corp 2 credits in order to draw more cards with the Raindrops
Get one more.
Touchstone.
I mean, give the Corp 2 credits to get 2 card draw? Like, that's pretty reasonable, I think.
It is. And of course, if the Corp will brazenly put the anthill out in the middle of nowhere, you do have to pay a click and 1 credit. Now that the Corp have 8.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, this looks like a scoring window.
That it does.
And you have Zato and 3 ETRs on the server. If the runner's 3 clicks aren't all run this server and produce a Fractor somehow for Maskarovka, then this looks like
Producer Fractors go to cost a click.
Yeah, so this looks like the game-winning threat, and just install everything. So I guess Ting Feng is hoping that this is a bluff, but that was far too quick on the advancements for me to believe it to be a bluff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very close to a complete lockout in terms of 3 clicks can just be dunked on by the Zato grid.
Right. Although there is the potential for Pinhole.
Pinhole would be... Yeah, this is why Pinhole is a good card.
Among many other reasons, yes.
We could write a doctoral thesis on the many ways Pinhole is a good card. All right, let's see.
Let's see. What else is going on here?
So we have...
I'm going to say maybe table 8?
Yeah, let's check in on table 8.
Or we could check in on table 6, which I believe is the other table in the lower bracket.
I don't see a table 6 currently here. I think it might have finished.
Yes, you are correct. I have reading this wrong. Yeah, let's look at table 8. I'll hop in and see. 1 second. All right, we are good to stream on table. Well, never mind.
Oh no. Yes, interesting board state we have here. Looks like someone has won.
Yes. I am really curious why there were 4 face down ice
Just 4 unresed
and no
dice.
res ice. There are 4 unres ice and no res ice.
Huh.
I am very curious as to the story behind that.
Well, maybe Lad managed to trash all the res dice somehow.
All
So
right.
that
Uh,
looks like we're back for the. Looks like we're in for the game against Jai.
yes. Oh, looks like there's plenty of game ahead of us here.
Right, let's get in.
Seeing as the score is 0-2.
Oh, there's so much game left. In fact, we got to check the timers. We have 20. We have 16 minutes left in
They've
this
got
game.
like 14, 16 minutes left. Yeah, they've got quite a bit of time left. Okay, some interesting things I'm seeing here. Decently developed save board. We've got Initial Bounty, Class Act, Mystic, Nuke with 2 counters, and Hermes. We've got a Chesva setup, double Chesva, but it could appear a Unity, but also a Revolver. And I think I find the combination of these Chesvas and this Revolver to be a little bit interesting to me.
I think if we look at Jai's list, I suspect it's on like 1 Revolver, 1 Carmen. Let me see if I can find that.
Go pull up Jai's list. Yeah, 1 second.
Oh, it's on Echelon.
It's on 1
Intriguing.
Echelon, 1 Revolver. Because my thought is, if I've got Chesvas, so I put in inside multiple Chesvas, I'm not really worried about spending credits on funds. Like, I have lots of those. And Revolver counters still run out.
And you do get that dichotomy of, in certain matchups, the 2 revolvers in your deck are more than enough counters, when sometimes you face Jinteki instead.
And sometimes Jiteki throws a suspicious protocol for their cloud eater, and you're like, why? What should I do to deserve this?
There are depraved people in my local meta who love Sisyphus Protocol. But at the moment, this remote one actually quite weak because you can just break it with the crew repair for 4 and then bypass the logjam. However, I'm sure
Yes.
Prof Wacko is aware of that, and this really looks like a. This looks a lot like a Charlotte bait.
But this remote does actually get quite strong for a little bit. As soon as you exploit the weakness, because the crew repair counters will be gone. And
yeah, you
you're
come in
looking
for
at
this, and then suddenly the next set looks real safe. Like, Carpe Diem coming in, get that Sable click. Oh no, it's a logjam. Who printed this card? We do have the asset, the ice, the operation, the upgrade. Everything's in here except the agenda. This is just an envelopment.
well, envelopment is a little annoying to break with Kudapira. And by a little annoying, I mean it costs
I guess fortunately, Jai has 2 Chesvas. That'll really offset the cost of breaking any central. So that was just 3 real credits to get through, and that gave you back the info bounty. So the cost of running your mark is 6 credits cheaper, with the possibility to go up in credits.
This is actually one of the reasons that I actually kind of like Red Team. Is you can just sort of stack it up with stuff, and if you already want those runs anyways, it is actually a lot of total value. But
yeah, it is perversely stackable and yet very much not stackable due to it being mutually exclusive with run events. And coming in to check this out, and I'm looking at the list. I don't think I actually see any Charlottes in here. Am I correct on that? Are all the advanceable cards agendas? I guess
well, this one certainly is.
This one certainly is. All right, quick measured response check. Indeed, Prof Wacko is playing 3 measured responses, and Jai has 4 credits here. Danger, Batman, danger.
Farfacco only having 5 credits, although
Oh, that could change real quick, though.
that's going to change.
If only there was some economy card that you could put in your hand just now. Admittedly, GovSub does not get you from 5 credits to 10 credits. Big think, because I'm sure Prof Wacko does care a lot about, eventually we'd like to play government subsidy. But instead, adding tree line, we're just going to keep making a bigger logjam. That is the way to really put the screws to criminal. And just an anthill out in the open. It turns out Prof Wacko did not get away with the anthill in the open. Lots of cards in hand due to the Hermes bounce and the Basalt Spire steal. And setting up for a possible economic, not really lockout, but some kind of economic problem to propose to the runner.
So we have seen this after come down on Archives, which is a little interesting.
Yeah, it costs 2 on the Unity. And logjamming the, tree lining the logjam, go up to 9 strength. Really making it hard to get through with just a Kurapira. And we might see just repeatedly breaking that Maskarovka in order to get cheaper bypass counters than having to break a logjam.
Just say, as the corp here, are you ever thinking about installing a new ice on server 1 just to trash the Maskarovka?
I think yes. If Maskarovka is cheaper to break, if breaking Maskarovka 3 times is cheaper than breaking the logjam, then you got to think about it. Transfer of wealth. What a important time to have to take 3 credits from the corp.
Well, it is also Break likes to run Maskarovka 3 times, and I suspect actually right now with the double Chesva, the logjam on HQ is actually slightly cheaper if you want to run it once per turn and bank up your counters and access there.
So making the audacious claim that it's an Urtica, which no, I'm gonna guess that it's not. All right, just
Yeah.
looking at a load of runner credits and just got to try it anyways. Grower coming in, confirming that yes, indeed, this is an Urtica, and we're gonna have to fix this real quick and have Jaya die to net damage. And Kurapira absolutely has text.
Yes.
Well, I think we know where the future is. Everyone who's playing Maskarovka also got to play Extract to get Maskarovka off the board after it becomes the cheapest way to break barriers.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't. The HQ Logjam was actually cheaper to break than that Maskarovka the first time each turn.
Yeah,
With this
the
double
once
kill
per
spell.
turn is a significant limiting factor, but it turns out that was good enough. All right, that is all the games for this round. Let's bounce back to the tables. So we've just seen Jai take a win, and then Cyberspace Panda also taking a win. And I believe that these tables 5 and 6 were I think these were the lower table. So a couple of players have been eliminated. The eliminations are starting. Crow posting a crying baby shark in the Discord. And we await the next round. So if we wanted to take a quick look at more deck lists, y'all can witness my Gmail tab. So we haven't seen Jai's Corp yet, but this looks like a conventional Alco with fat to make it annoying to interact with all your agendas that are coming into play. And a lot of good Jinteki tempo cards. The one Saisenton to force the runner to fear it, but not actually playing 3 because it costs a lot. Then Cyberspace Panda, also on Alco. Then we have Moonpool, Saisenton, Atini, the good stuff in full quantities. And 3 measured responses in here. Is Jai a measured response? No measured response out of Jai.
Only unmeasured responses.
What's that?
Only unmeasured responses.
I couldn't quite make that out.
I said only unmeasured responses.
Ah, yes. All right, and then here we have the stream to date. So we have Jai and Cyberspace Panda fighting for the finals bracket. And then we have Wenjong versus Foxtrot and Prof Wacko versus Augustus Caesar fighting through the lower bracket. So Jai really cruising here. He might take the entire tournament without losing at all. He did not lose any games during the Swiss last round, just 5 wins and then ID the rest of the way into the cut. We are coming up on, all right. We are starting in 4 minutes on the next round, and we are going to just play continuously until everyone but one has been eliminated. So with that in mind, what are we excited to look at in round 3?
Hold on a second. Let me update the.
Well, we haven't seen Alco yet. Would you like to check out Alco versus Jai on the?
Sure, we can check out Alco versus Jai.
We'll check that out in the upper bracket. And then that'll let us switch to the lower bracket game to see in the following
round. We start with lower bracket games just because we are guaranteed to be able to catch players in the upper bracket in the following round.
That is true. All right, then how about we check in on... We have not seen Lat. Shockingly, Lat is going to be the palette cleanser for the current runner meta. Want to check out table 9?
Sure, Lat versus Iswak, I believe. Also happy to see some Iswak going.
That's not what I'm reading here. I'm reading Lat versus Op.
Oh wait, I'm looking at the 1 second. Yes, table 9. 1 second. All right, we are go on table 9. First Lat.
Let's go. This was part of my secret agenda to watch an Op game again. Right, both players, last life on the line. Take a look at the Lat list real quick. I assume Wenjong is Hectorist. Am I correct on that?
I would certainly hope so.
With that in mind, we do see there's 2 deep dives in this deck, and this might be a setup and chill until it's time to resolve a couple of deep dives. One wheels to get that extra click, and the very good Shaper Breakers got Propeller, Pressure Spike, and Importing Revolver, and Echelon, and there's just a lot of options. Intriguingly, apparently the Shaper technology of importing Firesarm Entangler seems to have fallen out of favor. I haven't seen Firesarm Entangler in a minute. And yeah, this looks like a good stuff flat with 3 stone ships to make sure you don't die, and then 2 deep dives to finish. Meanwhile, on the op side, I believe we have seen Hotel Foxtrot on op before. Yeah, this is with the Mitramon, the Hollow Man, and the Tukana as exciting upgrades to search for. And Stavka Halfrune on tap.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we are counting down 30 seconds for everyone to get to their tables. I think we should be able to have that done quite cleanly. And we're off to the races with a mandatory draw, the standard way every Netrunner game begins. One day they'll print a Corp ID that changes this, but hopefully not for a long time. And we're starting the clown car. SMC
Indeed,
propeller overclock.
SMC propeller overclock.
Just all the possible tools in hand you could want to get to crack a remote. That is a very strong opening. Now you have to decide, how much do you try to salvage off of this? Do you make them burn the overclock, or do you make the runner burn overclock credits just to make sure you have less to trash
on the SMC? Yeah, exactly.
If this is just a Maskarovka, your open would hold for a turn.
Maskarovka just gets propellered. This is like a fly swatter.
I think a fly swatter might be ideal in terms of how do you spend the least money to try to make the runners spend overclock credits. And yeah, this is a worthy thing. Ooh, Mitra and a humanoid resources both getting rezzed right now.
The res on the humanoid resources is a little interesting.
Oh, because you need to, because you want to ob it out, get a spin doctor. All right, Mitra, fantastic card. You have 3 credits when you could have instead had 0, and now the runner gets to go break his Stavka. And it looks like the plan is
just break a Stavka, so it's turned the overclock, launder the overclock credits into real credits via SMC for cold.
Yeah, and then just let the Stavka trash your board, and then just get out with as much as you can.
This is a really fascinating line, honestly. I love it.
And the extra cards drawn off of that spin doctor prevent the runner from getting the lat draw. So now next turn, Vlad is probably destined to click to draw 3 cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I click to draw 3 times and then get and then take your Proco click or something, or take a run, sure.
Ooh, nice. Hollow Man out. Click to draw 3, get your lat draw. Foxtrot did manage to resolve a hedge fund. Always makes you feel suddenly wealthy after that fires off. Mm-hmm. But it's still a little short of rezzing ice everywhere and starting to score. So you need a little more.
Yeah, and Stavka on Innermost is a little awkward from a Zotto perspective.
There we go. Yeah, fixed it.
It's just swing away.
You get to play
maybe a Sandstone.
Yeah, you get to play a Mega Hedge Fund. Go get there's options on 3. You could go search for the Anthill, and then if you've got the good ice in hand, then you just start setting up on that.
Yeah, like I remember seeing like Sandstone if you have something behind it, or something to put behind it if you have the Sandstone, or other ice, right? But
I think this op ID might be good. You just get so many options to go fix your board state.
Mm-hmm.
Afshar on the remote. Yeah, this does probably ask the runner to find 2 solutions. Antectorist, not about that life. Just check R&D. If the corp is going to play a Euro game on the remote, then you can just play lat and check R&D. And checking to see, is there going to be a spin doctor to prevent the lat draw?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly one of the more frustrating bits of playing lat is having to stop and go action at the end of every single one of your turns if there's anything unres.
Well, at least it's not as bad as playing against Spark Agency, which every pay to ability window they might res an asset to make you lose a credit.
Mm-hmm.
Start a game. Can I play my sure gamble? And the answer is no.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the things that bothers me most about False Lead is, not the way it sets up kill combos, just the way you just kind of have to go action continuously.
All right, HQ sweep is on the menu. Regolith, awesome. Keep that out of the corp's hands. See everything else in HQ.
Sandstone, Hedge Fund, humanoid resources. HR's gonna be trashed. No one likes HR.
Absolutely not. Well, our corporate overlords like HR. And of course, as noted, Tucana, well, As we did not note, Tucana went and grabbed an development for R&D. You're going to be safe from being deep dived for a little while. And then this will give you something to sell off to your op effects later. Who said op was dead? I think the ID is just always there, ready to come out of the woodwork with some new disgusting plan, because for some reason corp cards keep trashing themselves. And this is a whole lot of setup. Couldn't quite get down in cards enough to get the lat draw. All right, the clown car is live with a convincing amount of credits and an incoming trigger off of the anthill, so you could. The Hollow Man is in the discard pile, so you can't go grab the Hollow Man and score something. But I'd love to see what is the grab. Maybe just some 2-cost ice.
Perhaps for 2-cost ice here, we have 1 second.
I know we saw a Kessleroid, and we have a Fly Swatter and a Half Rune. I can't imagine Half Run will be grabbed outside of the Stavka combo, though.
It's not very good as ice.
Yeah, it does have that certain limitation. You very much have to care about the text. It is, of course, both a barrier and a code gate, so if you have either of those breakers online, then you get to break it, and that is that is a significant downside. Pressure spike coming in and a simul chip. This is a light the fire remote. It's very stacked and trashable. It'd be a little bit of a sacrifice in lat to pay with some hand size, but maybe it's just enough. Ooh, right, of course, Cyber Sand Harvester, the classic. Right now, lat looks way too broke to think about trashing it, so either you might get some actual money off of the Cyber Sand and not just trade it in for a 1-cost. And if that does pop a fermented to trash Cyber Sand, I think you're happy with that.
The spec work definitely feels like the preferred way right now, not to get rid of these use goals when possible.
Simul chip is live, and I don't think we had. Did we put something new in the remote? No. So server 3 is just full of upgrades right now. Development is about to tick down to 0 ETRs on it.
This is true, but running that development is a little awkward. What are the durable force here?
Well, Stavka's a bad 4. There is a single tree line in the list. And it might just be that tree line.
Yeah, true. They're not very exciting hits on 4. 10 cards.
10 cards in HQ is a lot of cards. You're about to be able to get 3 of them out of HQ, but one thing that these objects can do is if they get to chain all these funny triggers together, then suddenly your credit total can spike significantly, which is what we're seeing now. Install 1 card in server 3. I really bet that's a I strongly expect that to be a an agenda. It seems like now is the time. And the corpse hand is so full of options. More ice on R&D, very fair. And play hedge fund. Managed to get away with playing the operation off of humanoid resources too. Discard two
Mhm.
cards. There's a spin doctor on the table. Undoubtedly, this will be, your hand is as fixed as you want it to be. Okay, overclock. I see. So the silent chip is on the table. It can get anything, but I don't see a way to deal with the cost on silent chip. If you need to go get something to get through fly swatter, you're trading your pressure spike for that. Actually, no, wait. Was that? I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Fermenter was trashed to gain 8. Silent chip is live without having to pay the cost. So now you can just get SMC, get propeller, and importantly, if the corp pulls out Stavka Halfrune, you can go install your Sentry Breaker after that all resolves, and the corp can't
Mhm.
try to do that to you.
The simple chips are a nice defense against streak shooting.
Nice defense against streak shooting, and like just by its nature, you pull out your solution after the corp can possibly target you with the combo, so it really just
Mhm.
disables it.
Although both sides do have plenty of money and possibly resources to work with here.
Yeah, I bet a Zato's in here by now, and you could just throw an ETR at the runner.
Mhm.
And that's the exciting part about Op. The entire deck is in your hands at any given moment.
Yeah, a lot of interesting lives to pursue.
Also of note, we are down to 18 cards left in R&D and only a single agenda in this score area. So there's got to be at least 8 points floating around somewhere. Maybe not in
We also
HQ.
see a lot of IE status input projecting this R&D, suggesting that there is perhaps.
And of note, there is a timing issue that favors the runner in that you could say, fine, have your solution. I'm just going to resin ETR and Zato you. But that triggers on encounter. So you can set up your obvious Zato play, and then the runner can get these overclock credits laundered into something productive. So you're not going to be able to stop the runner from spending the overclock credits.
Mhm.
Also, overclock's a good card. I'm glad to see people playing it. If you're happy to play Sure Gamble for +4 credits, how about Sure Gamble plus a run?
Well, now that the alternative is perhaps a bit bad, yes.
This may be a reaction to the fact that Dirty Laundry. I'm betting Overclock is taking the place of Dirty Laundry in a lot of these lists.
I bet it's taking the place of Trick Shot in a lot of these lists.
Yeah, allegedly, but Trickshot ban was yesterday's news. It's been banned for an entire uh, standard environment, and now we're in a new one in which we lost more important runner cards. All right, just a fly swatter. Tragically, slightly too late to go knock 8 credits off of the fermenter, but it will demand that the runner produce a decoder and use up the simul chip.
Mm-hmm.
And then just risk whatever's at the bottom of the server, which is very exciting. All right, what do you think the odds of bottom Stavka again are?
I mean, there are 3 Stavka in this list, and there's not. Okay, I guess there's more ice in this list than I thought there was. There are, in fact, 18 pieces of ice. It's just mostly kind of.
All right, we're going through. And we're having ourselves a little princess bride. Like, surely I cannot trust the play in front of me. And now it is time to put the worst possible ice right in front of the runner. So it turns out, if there's meters on the table, the odds of inner Stavka are 100%.
Now, inner Stavka does remain somewhat awkward because inner Stavka can never end the run.
It cannot, but if this was an agenda that the Corp is pushing for, you can trash that agenda that's in the remote to keep the runner from accessing it. Or you could leave it there because, you'd like a Tucana trigger. And here we see the proactive find a forecaster or make sure there's a forecaster that you're willing to grab that's not Stavka. So here's the one of tree line. Right, that is just an Azov protocol. The runner's table has been sent absolutely back to zero.
Ways back, yes. There is still lots of money for the runner. Perhaps a bit of a shortage of ways to spend it.
We love to see it, just fetching envelopment off of the Tucana trigger. And if I am the corporation now, yeah, and Hotel Foxtrot is saying, I think that was a worthwhile trade, and I think that sounds correct. Take out both a pressure spike and a unity. Big stonks. And currently I see one simul chip. Yeah, just one simul chip. It will take... It's not impossible to just draw more simul chips and challenge this. All you need is a willingness to face an inner Stavka. But we do have the 3 different ice types on the remote. And maybe... pay 3 and advance. Play Asmat and just immediately spec work it off.
It's money, it's draw. It's especially more money with the discount from the DZMZ optimizers.
And now a simul chip.
Discount into a real credit here by shaving off the install cost.
And there is the option to pop the simul chip right now that you've got the trash to program requirement fulfilled. Check for that draw, but I don't think an advanced card is going to disrupt the lat draw.
Hmm.
All right, this looks like, I think this is essentially going to be only off the books. That counter could be quite valuable now. Hollow Man goes back in.
And advancing off the books with a counter. Going to find Hollow Man, Pacificans over 3. So this is definitely setting up to threaten some Hollow Man action next turn. Or perhaps on whatever turn Hotel Foxtrot can find another agenda out of this R&D that is maybe pretty dense, that is a lot of ice that has been invested into protecting it.
I think the way I'd be looking to finish the game is by just putting an Azef in, or not an Azef, put a drone deployment in the remote, and then just use the never advanced mode on Hollow Man to score the 5-3 from 0. Because 8 is not going to be enough to score two 2-pointers out of HQ from the Hollow Man. So you're going to have to slow down significantly one way or another.
Mhm.
Yeah, that should be the Hollow. The JNet chat log does strongly suggest that that's the Hollow Man in the remote. And you have this very brief window where it looks like the runner needs a little more than a turn of setup to get back into this remote.
Yeah, I mean, the SMC and the symbol chip like that does produce both breakers.
But the SMC does not get breakers out of the heap, and that's where some important breakers are. Like that's where the silent,
True.
that's where the pressure spike and the unity are.
Sure, there are only 9 cards left in the stack. Gonna go a little bit low.
All right.
Something I will return to that we mentioned earlier is that I believe you said that this list was on deep dives
This
and
latlet
has
is,
a Hana.
yeah, this is on deep dives. Unfortunately, Hannah doesn't go click positive on the turn you install her, so at best you can
Correct,
deep
yes.
dive for one card, but sometimes you just access all the cards while you're setting up the deep dive. In the meanwhile, we did see extract that inner Stavka to get a Zato, and now it looks like the corp is set up for that same kind of lock where you can throw all the ETRs at the runner, and you have to,
Mhm.
and that's going to force you to spend 3 clicks on this. Right, that is a wheels run. Can't wheels the remote, you're going to get tagged. But we can try to challenge this because this definitely looks like, well, okay. If this is 3 ETRs, then I think that just locks the runner out.
Mhm.
Well, no, maybe not. Maybe you make a wheels run and then you click the wheels for the click and clear the tag from the last failed wheels run. All right, no further action. I wonder what that top ice is that is not to be rezzed. Maybe it is a half rune that's just going to use the honest pseudo border control functionality. Also of note, if you're gonna Zato throw every card in the server at the runner, Fly Swatter probably can't grab an ETR. You probably need to trash this tree line in order to grab the Maskarovka to
Uh,
be able to fetch ice that has
or
it.
the sandstone, is the sandstone still remaining? This
It's,
was on one sandstone.
I feel like it's likely. There's one sandstone in the deck.
I'm not seeing it in archives.
I do not see it
It
in
could, of course, be
archive.
hiding on R&D.
Shaper Heat Manipulation is activated. The Pressure Spike is online. Approach Fly Swatter and Zato, the runner. Using Op to fetch a Tithe. Using Hannah, there's a lot of clicks hidden in this motorcycle. So clicklessly, and so that'll give you the click to try to crack Hannah for more clicks, and then try it again, possibly 3 more times. Well, 2 more times. All right, just fire the Tithe, lose a stone ship, no big deal. Continue through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think Tithe is a piece of ice you're ever very likely to auto.
This is a half rune, and I think we are using the honest functionality on it. Disable this pressure spike, and that's probably why it wasn't rezzed on the way in. And now the simul chip, can it get anything back that will get you through the half rune this click? I think you get SMC, get a propeller. Where's the propeller already
Right,
in the
because
bin?
well, there is a propeller in the bin, but like you could always just get the propeller back directly. Like, what do you need to SMC for propeller?
Yes. Sorry, I missed that propeller was in the bin. And if you go through this play of throwing your entire remote at the runner, I guess you at least do take Hannah off the table and you can't get deep dived for 2 agendas.
Mm-hmm.
And this propeller will have to be used for the entire run, but that's okay. It has just enough counters to break both the half rune and the tree line. So I think the runner is going to have enough clicks and further runs back through the server to ultimately get in and trash the Hollow Man. Yeah. So take a tag, trash Hannah, clear the tag, and they got 2 more runs back. Tithe is going to get you a hedge fund's worth of value this turn. That's one of the best payouts I've ever seen on Tithe.
Yeah, but if this server gets deconstructed, things will get pretty rough for Hotel Foxtrot here.
That sounds like a very on lore thing for Op to do, to just destroy the entire server to gain 1 credit every time.
Yes, but on the other hand, at the end of it, there will be no server.
I'm sorry, that sounds like a Q2 kind of problem. And my golden parachute fires at the end of Q1.
Of course, of course.
We're very much in. I think we might just have the sunk cost here. Make the runner spend every last click and take 3 or 4 net damage and donate 3 or 4 credits to the Tithe. But had the op trigger been saved for the tree line trash, that might have been able to produce another. I don't know what the contents of R&D is, but perhaps this could have pulled out another end the run to force this through. But also, it was only a 2-pointer, so maybe resetting up to try to actually fight over the drone deployment is where the game is. Mascarovka in HQ.
Yep. But that is also a run on HQ.
You think that this last card is the deep dive that's dodged the tithe? No agendas in archives. There was a chance that we were just throwing stuff out. But with no decoder, no sentry breaker, do you think that Hectorist can get into R&D and play deep dive? I think that last card is deep dive. Has somehow dodged all the net damage.
So for code gates that actually ETR, like I look at the ETRs on the left, right? There's
Fly Swatter and I think Afshar.
one Afshar. There's one more Fly Swatter. The Afshar's in archives. One Fly Swatter is in archives. There is one more Fly Swatter for code gate ETRs.
Okay. HQ is just entirely a Mascarovka as far as we can tell. Yeah, card in server 3, click for 2 credits. How many Mascarovkas are in archives? Are we just seeing the same one over and over? It's possible HQ is 2 Mascarovkas, which would make my line of fetching a 3-cost ETR from the tree line trash not actually something that you can do. So maybe that's what was happening there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we can't complain about all that the tithe accomplished. And the lat draw looking extra critical right now. Got solutions somewhere in the deck. And let's see, is there any kind of reload available here? It does not look like it. Right, new card coming in. And that was overriding this card, so that looks like that might have been. What do you think? Maybe a regolith? Wait, I gotta make sure I'm looking at the right thing. But this definitely looks like. I guess we get to see what it was. It was just a spin doctor.
The doctor coming in.
So.
He checks though.
So Hotel Foxtrot actually could have denied the lat draw there. But I think making the smart play and making sure you don't accidentally draw an agenda when you weren't meaning to.
Is it the tithe hitting the deep dive? What are the deep dives? I think this was on 2.
However, envelopment can go get a. Well, I guess just a Stavka on the last card you need for the deep dive. And it is a Fly Swatter. And you got to make him have it. If there's a Fly Swatter here, that's one less possible Fly Swatter on the remote.
And in fact, there's 0 possible Fly Swatters on the remote because the second Fly Swatter is in archives, as is the Afshar. all remaining ETRs.
Oh, so it's got to be Stavka into Stavka trashing both of the fractors into a barrier. But if it's not that, actually
Yeah,
no,
if
that.
this is not a barrier, this is not like
But you need
actually.
a program to be able to steal the drone deployment.
Oh, true. If this is SDS, yeah.
A for the Maskarovka. Go up to the possible credit perfect drone deployment. And it was just multiple Maskarovkas in HQ this whole time. And well played to the Hotel Foxtrot, managing to find that window between all of the holes that have been punched into Actorist's rig.
Yeah, very nice slow gradual lockout here with the rig shooting.
And it's a very tricky, slippery lines to make the Stavkas fire. Good game, everyone.
And all the way back to that turn one where we saw the Stavka double trash.
And then observing that cutting Harmony AR therapy finally turned out to be a significant problem. And let's see, that might be.
That was the
Yeah,
last
that
game
was
in
the
the
last
round.
game. We are on to the next one. All right, and then I believe we are playing. Hey, we're just going to keep Hotel Foxtrot on camera continuously as much as possible. This is round 4, looking at the lower bracket, I believe. Let's see how much time we're giving the players. All right, here is the bracket as it currently stands. So we see this round currently, Hotel Foxtrot is oh wait, I should check that. Not actually sure. We have table 12 up there. Okay, I think we are. Yeah, we are playing the lower bracket here, and then ultimately, we have Cyberspace Panda, who is going to queue up against whoever wins this round, and then Jai's been waiting a minute, but Jai will eventually get to play someone for the finals. And we are down to playing a single game between rounds. So now we can be sure. Nothing but continuous netrunner the whole time.
Indeed.
Let me see if I can close some tabs out here. All right, let's see if we are live on the. We are live on the thing. Not yet. And we are given 2 minutes because we're given a minute because Hotel Foxtrot has been playing continuous Netrunner this whole time, and that does get very tiring. And if you need to like get up and get a drink, now would be a good time to stay hydrated. But the game is up. And there's this cool feature in Netrunner or in JNet where you can have open deck lists. I'm not sure how to use it. I haven't made it to a top cut on JNet. And now we get to have the supervision of the head judge in JNet as we run. So one side we see Hotel Foxtrot. We are starting to get very familiar with this list. Stavka, Program Destruction, Zato, Lockout. That's a very threatening thing to be facing up against when your opponent is playing Criminal, who notably doesn't tend to have a lot of backups for lost programs. Here, however, Prof Wacko does have a very good card to deal with Zato. There is one Airblades, which can prevent an on-encounter effect. Zato City Grid creates an on-encounter effect that you can prevent.
Yes, it's certainly one of the more fascinating interactions.
Now, the encounter effect is to create a choice for the corp to trash the ice. So you do have to spend a counter, and the corp doesn't trash any ice to try to force you to spend a counter. You just have to proactively spend a counter every time. But leading off the Spin Doctor opening, Ice HQ, how did the mulligans go this time? Prof Wacko kept. Hotel Foxtrot took a mulligan. So it's possible that this is an awkward opener, and we'll see how that works out. Mark and R&D, Carpe Diem, get that access. And starting off above the law, this can produce some really rough opening snipes on important resources, so we know that's not going to happen. Oh, that's really less than ideal. 4 points on top of the deck. Oh no, you can't do this to this poor man. There's no way it would be 6 points on top of R&D.
We've had a long, hard fought game last round. We could be in for a much less long one.
It's Sokka's Worlds run all over again against Jantuno. I think Jantuno just ran R&D 3 times and there's 7 points. No, we're not that unlucky.
Like, I think this is one of the more subtle things that Sable does. It's not just the click rebate, it's that you sort of make those free runs and they're actually runs, or you touch cards. And sometimes those cards are worth points, and then you're just up some points. Ooh.
Yeah, the math says you need something. Okay, I don't know how many unique accesses the math actually says, but you need some number of unique accesses of
17-ish.
Yeah, like 17-ish. And if Sable's abilities, sometimes you have to remember it's some of those 17 accesses. Right, not getting to resolve an antail, but at least this wasn't another agenda going down to the runner just having it. Tree line is a pretty respectable ice to make the crew peer counters a little costly. Preamble, Pinhole. Pinhole's a good card. However, we are taking a 50-50. Which one's the good one? Zato is a good one. That's an important card to not let the court have. This could just be more clown card, though. You might be going... You might check this remote and find out that you've spent all your money and you still have a problem. But it is an anthill. Great thing for Hotel Foxtrot to get to start to resolve. And with the one pinhole hitting the bin, now you can be more confident that if Prof Wacko stops this, it is going to be by paying through all of this ice. Sable lands on HQ, but now you have to play very afraid due to every ice might be Stavka. Let's see, is there any way to get back a program if it gets trashed in this list?
Lists.
I don't think I see any way to deal with a program hitting the bin. Just boomerang your way through once you lose that breaker.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
And of course, we finish resolving the anthill excavation, fetch a Hollow Man, and just put something in the remote. This looks a lot like it might be a devastating drone deployment if the runner doesn't run in here right now.
I feel like Victory lists have historically been really good into Crim, which has tended to have neither large amounts of redundancy nor of recursion.
Yeah, the right rig shooting focused Wayland list that actually plays some of these effects that can force the matter, like Zato, have a really strong angle to punish the criminals on. And maybe your best chance here is boomerang the top ice and then just run through and spend a ton of money. But then you end up, if that ends up being the drone deployment, then you lose your Kurapira anyways because you have to pay to steal it. You might be able to slow the corp down by pinholing this Hollow Man. Make sure that it takes at least one more turn to make this happen. Twinning. Nothing to charge it up yet. And open markers and running archives, you get the click back with Sable at least. And an info bounty. Not getting to collect that money this turn, unfortunately. And Hermes will at least punish the corp a little bit for the possible incoming score of the drone deployment.
SDS. Is an SDS. You're going to see him bouncing with these pieces of ice. It's going to be a window to get into R&D or HQ.
The corporation, the runner does get to choose the bounce after because the active player resolves their score effects first.
Yes.
So this could be to just open up R&D because one or the other server is getting opened up.
Well, at least Q's not very open now that there's FR on it. So I think we're going to see a bounce of the R&D ice.
The info bounty money counted? Yeah, it's when the run on your mark ends. So it does get to come in on the successful run trigger and work. So Clean accounting there. Excellent. Thank you for pointing that out. All right. I don't know what Oliver's trying to tell me about this match, but he's here too now.
Excellent.
And notably, open market is hosted credits that you can spend. Can come in for a twinning dive somewhere. Mod pointing out that I've bahad more than a few bounties in my day, and it seems to be paying off. You have the secret knowledge. It's like in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime where people always tell you that there's just some secret interaction. Like this card has a secret line of text that if you play this other card, then the moon falls out of the sky. And rarely do we actually get to pull that maneuver, but today it has happened. The archives mark today just providing the clickless $2, but I won't complain about a clickless $2. We banned Rizeki for less. And let's see if we can. Come here, Oliver. There we go. We're bringing in the ASMR right now.
The device going down to R&D. New potential push in server 2. Quite a bit of board state that the runner needs to assemble before contesting anything.
Yeah,
although there is the potential for a boomerang on server 2. Although even boomerangs are pretty awkward.
Hang on, was this a second backup Kurupira? It was.
Yes, there was one backup to Akira. But like there's a line here of Res Zato Res Stavka, throw the Stavka at the Kurapira and then you stranded the boomerang because the Stavka is trashed out from beneath it and the run fails, and like that is so miserable.
It can be a pretty grim matchup to face. Like maybe that 4 agenda point head start was just to try to give the runner a chance. Criminals playing 2 breakers. What has the world come to? This sure is a Stavka. And grabbing a half rune to disable the boomerang. So unfortunately, the backup Kurapira also looks like it's going down.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's trying to eat my
Yeah,
head.
okay, yeah. If you can Stavka the boomerang itself, if you can half run the boomerang itself, actually, then I don't know. This is still a little. I would have preferred to. Yeah, that's just. Yeah, okay, it's just awkward.
All right, it's expensive, but Yeah, I think this has cost the corp enough money that you need to either now or later you have to recover from this and then continue to try to score and end the game. Because as this fine game teaches us, hedge fund, perfect card to have right now. Yeah, protecting centrals is going to be critical. The remote may be done for now. This does look like...
Extrovert is looking pretty awkward straight through.
Yeah, it looks like we are currently resolving Azef.
That said, like this remote, you could boomerang the tree line and walk through the Stavka, and that does get you in for the moment.
My cat is just very passive aggressively purring at me. This does not mean that he is happy. This means that he needs attention. All right, what one costs are there? There's this doesn't have the humanoid. Oh yeah, this is the humanoid resources deck, and I'm once again looking at the wrong deck list. Humanoid just out in the middle of nowhere, though. Well, I guess you do have to do that because Azef is in the remote, and you can't put the new op fetch card into the remote. Otherwise, that would trash Azef. We had quite the fun rules meeting about what happens when Azef does anything. Tukana fetch Maskarovka. This will be a significant impediment to the runner. I'm going to trash the existing ice just to not pay any money. A new card in the remote for a possible credit perfect score. And they threat that if you go through all the effort to get in the remote and don't also spare a click to stop the humanoid resources, that the corp will just get back in the game with the humanoid resources.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that is good to challenge and want to trash is...
And at this rate, like pulling a card out of your deck that you don't expect to use in order to soak up a click from the runner next turn sounds like a good trade. All right, that fantastic text on open market coming through, getting to spend these credits that were going to come in for the next 3 turns right now to install the class act and draw a ton of cards. Clicking to draw
It's another little way to get a twinning counter, of course.
It does get a twinning counter. But of course, the class act draws cards at the end of the turn, and you might need cards right now in case the server 2 contains a 2-point winning agenda. And with this many twinning counters, you might as well see both cards, see if you can get a Hermes bounce. But nothing but ice in an operation.
Mm-hmm.
At least it was click free because of Sable, and you get the info bounty dollars. Boomerang R&D, time to go for the sideways Hermes angle.
Yeah, I mean, also just taking singles. Like singles is how, or in this case, triples, right?
Oh no. Full whiff. Three is a big number, but it's not a deep dive. Sometimes you're
So
just
I mean,
not going to
it's also
see.
possible that there's an SDS there. Like, see SDS. Well, that's not being scored.
But of course, this deck is composed of mostly 2 pointers and then just two SDS. So,
Mm-hmm. And this is a nice quick lockout score out.
all right. So that was this matchup down here. So now we're about to see once again. We're just going to keep following Hotel Foxtrot all the way through to the table 13 match versus Cyberspace Panda. If I take a quick look at that, in this matchup we should be on. I think that is it the seed that picks, or are we just going to have Hotel Foxtrot switch sides?
I don't know offhand. I
Someone
will have
else.
to be stepping away for just a couple minutes, and we'll be back soon.
Yeah, I'm going to throw us to break. We should give the players a minute. It looks like we are on a 20-minute break. Catch y'all in a few minutes. All right, pardon me. Looks like we are back. Looks like players are back and starting to get in on it. I mistook the timer for a break timer. But we are starting the game here with Hotel Foxtrot. Finally, not on the op side of the matchup, playing Magdalene. And getting to install the lily pad from the Magdalene trigger. Start taking your 5-click turns. Good luck, have fun, everyone. And Cyberspace Panda over here, getting a cohort guidance program rolling. This is a fantastic thing to have operating against a runner who's going to play a little more passively, because you get to build up your characters, draw cards, start putting a critical mass of cards on the table for a runaway growing amount of money and servers. Let me see what we're up to in this deck list. We are on 2 Regenesis, a bunch of cohorts, a FUT, and it looks like a scoring remote is starting to come up here. And if you do not stop this cohort, then this is going to get one more dollar trigger, and then Alco is going to get to trigger for the first time, and you're starting to look at like 5 cards. And that looks like a pinhole coming in to shut down the cohort, which is like this is going to significantly forestall the start of the runaway card draw on Alco. So this is a fantastic high impact pinhole threading to just make sure that we don't suddenly have 3 remote server threats next turn.
Although this has substantially strained Hotel's economy in the Hotel Foxtrot's economy in the process. We're going to have 3 credits. There is a fermenter installed off the Michelin utility that is ticking and will generate some cash in the future. But at the moment,
Yep, life is tough, and the best corps tend to offer you these damned if you do, damned if you don't decisions. In its case, it's let cohort or let Alco draw 5 cards, or lose some credits you need right now. And if you're lucky, then you'll be able to be using your Magdalene install on some credit positive stuff like coalescences.
Mm-hmm.
And these
Well, the
decks,
timing is a trifle awkward with only 3 credits in hand right now. If you're not going to be making any credits until, okay, telework coming down,
yeah, these,
telework click.
these decks are loaded with teleworks, and we're currently 1 over the hand size, so I don't know, you could run HQ and look at stuff, or just take money to set up to keep getting your Magdalene trigger.
Just selecting for the click for credit.
Yeah, if you're ending up using your trigger on Unity, possibly because you fear that Alco is about to do some damage on score, then this does save Unity from getting trashed that way. Or maybe you just didn't have anything better to install, so that's why we got
and perhaps no desire to burn any cards on a real discard against what is possibly a deck with potential kill lines. I believe I haven't looked at this exact list, but I know Akko frequently has
like
some kill lines or at least some net damage
there's bite in the
available.
deck, there's Fut. If you ignore that, then you will just get attritions down pretty fast. In the meantime, not looking to contest this. This looks like it might. This is foreshadowing that it might be Fuji asset retrieval going up to 2 advancements. Or perhaps it is just an incredible bluff, and this is the Regenesis. But if you activate Alco, you cannot use Regenesis because you've put cards into archives this turn. All right, that's a lot. That's a lot of cards. Let's see what this is. It does look like just the honest 5 advancements for the Fuji. I don't see anything else in here unless this is. Yeah, I don't see anything else you'd advance to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, yes, because as we are about to do damage, perhaps the runner might want to pop Stone Ship. So
Yes.
So realistically, the chance that the runner's action, or the technical correct time for the runner to act would be after the 4th advancement. But we are good sports in this game. And indeed, hey, I wanted those. Maybe not. Maybe actually no, you didn't want the spec work. So that was a spec work, and a copulation goes down.
Look at explanation. Spec work selling the call would have been very nice.
Yeah, interesting that we reprinted Aesops, and then everyone's just rejecting Aesops in favor of, well, I guess I'll just play the occasional spec work. Running is just too much of an ask to sell stuff.
Running is a little bit awkward. And the sale is... You can't sell zeros for profit in the same way.
All right. Asking for an action at the start of the turn because Malvarus is about to get up to a number where you might start thinking about taking it, and Cyberspace Panda does have the Malvarus to clear off 8 credits from the runner.
At the cost of 3 of their own.
At the cost of 3.
Slightly defusing a little bit of threat here on the board.
Yeah, but there's nothing in the remotes remaining for Alco to be presenting as a threat. So Magdalene can probably just chill and keep installing stuff. Unfortunate not to have a DZMZ optimizer. We've installed a lot of programs for their full install cost. But at least Lilypad is online and keeping you drawing. At some point, installing enough cards does win the game. Yep, Cyberspace Panda having to think. There's not a ton happening on the table right now, but you do need to set up and plan for what are we going to do next turn. There's a lot of
Mhm.
important thinking, and if you've been drawing a bunch of agendas, that might be a limiting factor on the plays that you make. Alco has only triggered once this game so far, I think. So we aren't.
I believe so.
We probably aren't flooded on the basis of throwing a bunch of cards in the trash, but more on the fact that not a lot of agendas have happened so far. And Ice HQ, it's probably good. Hannah is on the table. Deep Dive is a threat. We have accidentally double clicked Nuka and drawn a lot of cards. Unfortunately, I don't think a take back can be allowed because you've seen what the new cards are.
Yeah, I believe we should have a judge in spectate here.
Yeah, we do have Cror in here, but I think Cror is
No,
also
we're
going
just seeing
to.
a run on. Yep, we're just seeing a run on coming in on archives. See how whoops and move on.
Yep. Hey, that's a blood in the water, and that's a lot of points in archives.
Okay.
So at the very least, FUT helping you with your decisions on what am I going to discard out of these 9 cards that are still here.
Yes.
I was almost going to suggest just run server 2. What's a Jinteki going to do? Take cards out of your hand?
If there were any clicks remaining, that would perhaps be slightly more appealing, but
All right, installing a Simulchip from the Magdalene discard. Just a good card to have, and I guess at least if you're going to overdraw by 4, you get to put one of them in. Discarding, though, a very important looking Azamat and an Optimizer and a Fermenter.
installing the Simulchip, installing the Simulchip for the discard. Interesting. Simulchip, a very flexible.
Yeah, every so often,
Card
Stone Ship surprises you by charging up a twinning or something.
and the Simulchip in turn could potentially retrieve the Azimuth or the Fermenter.
Or I'm sorry, I heard Stone Ship, but Simulchip, very
Yes.
Very broadly useful. We're starting to get, we have two breakers. Echelon starting to be ready to break a lot of the Jinteki ice. It's not going to do very well against something tall like Empiricist. But we may be at a point where maybe you can just ignore the FUT and try to win. I don't think any deep dives have hit the discard. No, we still have all of them somewhere.
Therefore, talking down 2 advancements.
And ending
Possibly
the turn.
For another Fuji.
Yeah, not much else that requires you to double advance it, and a lot that probably looks better. I think the only mind game you might be playing here is if this is actually a sting and you're just trying to trick the runner to come get it.
Going down to 6 credits, and especially if you then have to res some of this ice, like that, this starts looking very awkward.
It is looking expensive.
Although Hotel Foxtrot not on terribly many credits himself.
Yep, I'm always keeping an eye on, is this enough to play deep dive? Because what if you're on HQ and the corpse just saves his money,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly we're back online.
There's the potential for there's always a few more credits out of thin air with the symbol chip on the Coalescence.
Hey, if we think that this is the Fuji, what if this is the time to just double draw on Nuka and run in?
Mm-hmm.
Currently, Fuji threatens to do 4 damage on score or steel, which is, probably not a deal breaker. There's the simul chip. Whatever gets discarded, you can reinstall it. And I do bet that Hotel Foxtrot might be thinking the exact same thing. It's like, if it's a Fuji, that gets you so close to winning. All right, as we sit here on the classic thinking angle. No. What are we expecting? Would this ice be something that you expect we can just run through?
Ice on server 2?
Yeah, ice on server 2. So Cyber Ace Panda, looking at this, we have Anemone, Atini, Saisenton. I think there's 3 Tattoo Bolos, and that's the only ETRs in the deck. Admittedly, I would want a Tattoo Bolo before trying this.
There is no fractor in the heap. So one cannot be produced by the simul chip.
Hey, Pinhole. Maybe it's just time to not take as big of a hit from FUT.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering here. Although this is going down to 0 credits, which is
Perhaps we're preparing for the
a little
very, very
spooky.
tragic pop fermenter on 2 virus counters. Thank you, Oliver. I appreciate the cat barf.
Hmm.
Hey, ow. He's being very rude. This does look like the second Fuji score, so action, check to see if you want to pop a stone chip, possibly dilute and make a deep dive less likely to hit the bin. And we lose Teller Contract and Overclock. 2 pretty good money cards, but nowhere near as irreplaceable as a deep dive. He just bit the back of my hand at full power. Very rude.
Hmm. So that was a spread on the Fuji, but this has once again mostly bankrupted Cyberspace Panda here. It's down to 3 credits. Now, if there's a Tattoo Bola on offer,
Classic. You can't either let them. It looks like we might be paying through this to land a deep dive, but you do have to let the corp get money. There is 1 byte in the list. If we find the byte on top of R&D, that could be a big issue for the deep dive.
mm-hmm.
Ooh, Fuji's a good
So
thing to
finding
grab.
an agenda.
Well, in a roundabout way, the deep dive got you the Fuji.
Well, yeah, first rolling here looking for a replacement deep dive.
That sure looks like you got a replacement deep dive. Anything good in archives? No, just my virus to put that fermenter all the way back. Okay, so here's the play. If we do not currently have the deep dive, crack Hannah for a credit and then click to draw. Deep dive is obviously the top card. Or the more likely gamble to pull. The top card of R&D could be any agenda. It's the bite. But cyberspace only has 5 credits. Are you going to spend 4 of them to bite the runner? Nope. Bite can go. There are hybrid releases. That's something you can score out of hand. 1 is in the runner score area, but there are 3 in the deck in total. Are we slow rolling it? Yeah.
Only a touch.
Only a little bit. But we got there, Scoring the 5-3s aggressively, there's a very good follow-up to that. All right, that is going to be the end of the round for us right now. I think we're currently... All right, that was this lower bracket right here. Let me double check. That was Cyberspace versus Hotel Foxtrot. Yeah, so that was this round. So we now have our opponent. Finally, Jai gets to be on stream. He's been waiting this whole time. We were running into the finals bracket of Jai versus Cyberspace. and we will see who ends up playing runner and corp on that matchup. And coming into the finals round, as Jai is coming in from the upper bracket, Jai can lose one game and then still win by winning the second game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Cyberspace does need to win both games in order to take this. Now it looks like Jai has chosen to play Corporation. Despite this runner meta, Jai believes in the Corporation. All right, what is this? This is an important one to show off Jai and Cyber's icons. Hey, we got some icons on everybody. So we have here the absolutely accurate. They look exactly like this in real life representations of Jai and Cyberspace on the bracket. On our little bracket graphic right here. So if you see someone that looks like this, that's Cyberspace Panda. You can even zoom right in on that. Why does this not scroll? How does this technology work? Well, no one can be truly sure how technology works. That's why we have Netrunner. And we are going to chill for a minute while we get ready for the final game. So on Cyberspace, so on Jai, who we have not gotten to yet, we do see a slightly different list. Only 2 hybrid releases, but we also see Fut, Spin Doctor, Powers That Be. Boto is a new face that we aren't seeing in Cyberspace Panda's list, and this gives you that cool text of becoming a brand at some point in the game. Thank you, Oliver. Also, I believe we saw the fully operational come in clutch at one point to bring the corporation back from 1 credit the previous day. Also, Jai features the Hollow Man. And that's still that old game chilling there. All right, Oliver, what trouble are you up to now? And we see the accusations flying in. Jai's playing Corp because he didn't want to reveal to the world that he forgot to put Jaychinho into his runner deck. Looks like we are getting ready for finals. Here are the finals. Finals are untimed. If this lasts until Monday morning, then I'm going to have to call in sick because we just have to finish the finals. And on the Hoshiko list that we have not yet seen, we see a lot of the excellent Anarch cards, paying some influence for Clean Getaway and Boomerang, and Dr. Nuka. But ultimately, we are on the Twinning, Banhar, and some companions. And then it looks like the Breakers is Rising Tide, Echelon, Buzzsaw, just 2 of each. And on Jai, we have the Hollow Man based Alco deck. I think we're good to go. I'm sure that the players can hear me from here.
Yeah, so I think you're going through there a sort of count of the Breaker and Breaker Suite that Space has access to. And I think it's a good shout here. Alco in some ways is not a reaching this in the traditional sense, in that it's not trying to, see your breakers hit the table and then trash the ball for a full lockout. But that's not to say that there's no trashing of your breakers before they arrive on the table.
Yep, you do have the classic problem of, any net damage is rig shooting if it hits the right card. And Hoshiko is constructed in a way that defends against that a little bit. We know we're playing 2 copies of each breaker. Awesome. And now I'm scanning down to see if there's recursion available.
There is no recursion. There's not an Ashen. There's no target breakouts. There's no buffer drive. There's no recursion.
All right, just got to play perfectly. And if there's anyone has the hubris to do that, it is people in this top cut currently. All right, starting off with the Hansei review, it just cycles a card with Alco eventually asterisk.
Mm-hmm.
And starting with Ice.
One thing I really have enjoyed is seeing these sort of multifaceted designs where we have these cards like Hansei review that are supported in different ways, but still supported by different IDs.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, RH, getting the face down card in archives, you can start getting that credit each turn. We've got Arco with the promise of the future draw repayment. Or like one of my favorite examples for this was Lobby-san, which which we saw cases, we'd see it played in pit decks for the painting, but you could also support it with like Padma or even Tau, because as it turns out, your positional icebreaker works much better if you just reposition all the ice so it's in places that work for you.
And now we've printed further support for it in terms of if you put a Chromatophores on the ice, well, now everything's an eligible target. And then if the whole server can be broken,
well, there was already Egret. Egret already existed. Although Egret was a little bit worse than Chromatophores did all particulars, honestly.
Then you can justify putting Game Drag in your deck if one strength boost will last the entire run.
But like particularly for identities, right? Is we see cards being supported by identities in multiple different ways.
Now, notably, we do see Jai going for an advanced card in the remote. I am checking if there's anything it could be other than an agenda. Because right now, it looks like the things you'd want to advance are possibly a Sericulture expansion, or maybe a Fuji that you have an extra trick to finish.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything advanceable other than agendas in Jai's list.
Very bold choice. Also interesting that we do see the evolution of Alco kind of initially the boogeyman deck was Alco would play a bunch of Bladderworts, and then then you get this prisony situation where you lose a card every turn. This turn, Alco gets some money and draws a card every turn, and then they keep laundering these into hostile architectures to keep the Bladderworts pinging. But no one, I don't think any of the Alcos in this top cut have been on Bladderwort, because it turns out it's very vulnerable to keep yourself at low credits just to keep activating it. In the meantime, we see Banhar come in not quite in time to threaten this server play, but from now on in the future, you're going to need a little more ice to make sure Banhar doesn't just walk through it. Okay, it is the longevity serum, and that was just an advancement, maybe to psych the runner out, to pre-advance that. Using longevity to trash one card from HQ does trigger Alco, and now you get to shuffle all these R&D cards back in.
I mean, it also sets up to have one click remaining for it installed this turn.
Yep, and now you have FUT loaded with 2 damage ready to go. So at a very natural time where the runner might as well poke R&D, now you get to just punish them for that instinct. And it only cost you 1 credit, and now Poshku probably has to take Banhar damage coming through to stop you.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit of pressure here on cards in hand.
This list does have 1 Saisenton. You do have to consider the possibility that you will just take 6 net damage running the FUT and give Alco 6 counters. It's obscene. Or you could just pinhole the FUT.
Also works. Very flexible card.
Yeah, if somehow after all these years you aren't yet sold on pinhole belonging in every runner deck, maybe this will convince you. Now I get to bother my cat because he thought he could lie down and not be bothered. Yeah, and Run the Nets saying that there might be a meta where being in Bladderwort range all the time works, but right now is not that time. Runners are too strong. And I think that is largely what I have found, which is that if they disarm the Bladderwort, then suddenly you've tricked yourself into playing with 0 credits. And that's not an effective way to play Netrunner.
Not usually.
Right, and petty cash acting as a strike fund for the corporation. You just put it into the discard pile from your Alco trigger, and you don't have to play the slow first half of the card. You just get to play the clickless second half. Clicking to draw and hedge fund. So healthy credits, and Jai is running some good ice to be had. You got to be a little worried about that. Stuff like
speaking of healthy credits, that's now a fermenter with 4 counters, which it might be time to pop. And frankly, if Cyberspace Panda takes a very awkward turn here to not pop this fermenter, then as Dry, I'm very strongly considering just Purge and chip it back.
maybe, but also like I don't think Jai can afford to pass a turn. Like there's no virus in the list.
Mhm.
The only way you're getting a purge is from the fly swatter getting rezzed. Cyberspace is checking archives to make sure that there's nothing in like there's no Fujis that are about to sneak into the score area off of Regenesis score. All right, mo money, mo better. Still have to be afraid of you'll run Alco and then suddenly you take 3 net damage and the corp draws 5 cards and it's all spirals out of control because you decided to run.
Mhm. Also, getting double fermenter down ticking, also the Spencer Bueno ticking, is probably a major economic turnaround in a couple of terms.
Yeah, this will this will have the chance to pay off pretty hard. Server 2 still pointing Banhar in that direction. Just be a little threatening. Don't know if you're still looking. I still don't know if Cyberspace Panda is going to be excited to possibly give Alco a ton of counters. Sure Gamble, fantastic card to have right now. Clicking to draw and maybe still just chilling.
But there are, as of yet, no breakers down for Cyberspace Panda. The Scotchpon does represent some breaker, probably. Whether it represents the breaker necessary to break any given piece of ice is a much more open question.
Yeah. But why are you playing Anarch if not for the mystery of opening mystery boxes? Hello, Oliver. Oliver, please, I'm streaming right now. Don't believe his lies. I have fed him. All right, Jai, not accomplishing a ton here. There's ice on the table. There's cards in the remote, but the engine is not ticking. We've scored 1 longevity serum, and that's it. And the runner is afraid, but that only lasts for so long. All right, fully operational, draw 4. The corpse get VRcation too, and it doesn't even cost a bonus click.
And a sting being scored here. Net damage, catching raindrops, cut stone. Not, I think, a tremendously impactful hit.
It's good. It lets you go through a Banhar and refill after that happens.
It does.
But
It's a great synergy piece with Banhar, but
I think the bigger win is that the other stings are now online for when the runner steals them. They do more damage.
yeah, Sting is definitely a very fun and interesting design.
Yeah, Sting does very naturally Like, Sting is most powerful when both players get to take bites of the sandwich. Right, Banhar still eyeing server 2. Last time it was a never advanced Hollow Man play. It could be the same thing again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a clean getaway coming down.
The runner does die to bite right now. I don't
Yes.
I don't think there's one in Jai's list, which, this is an open decklist environment. I'm sure you check the decklist before you make that play, but all right. Unfortunately for the runner, did not get to spend the Fueno credits, didn't get to charge up the twinning, and now you have to pay $1 to keep Fueno. Oh, and in the server is just a cohort guidance program. It's a good card, but it's kind of blocking the Hollow Man.
I'm starting to drive a lot of value very quickly.
Yes, I do believe this is going to get you up to 2 Alco counters. So immediately you're going from, instead of just your mandatory draw, you do a cycle and then you look at 3 more cards. So this is giving Jai access to 5 cards with which to make some plays this turn. And all the while, the runner still has just the only breaker is Banhar.
Well, the breaker is Banhar. But Cyberspace Panda is very close to being set on credits for the rest of the game. We could get a pop of a 4 counter fermenter, and then maybe even a 5 counter fermenter the turn after that.
Maybe. And I think, as the game goes on, and Jai is still kind of maintaining the same board state and not doing a lot. Hey, it's a hybrid release. That gets you to
Finding something to install.
That lets you install the card cohort guidance through away. Now, it's possible this is an extremely ambitious play. Hey, the runner finally has Echelon. You get to play a little less scared of the corporation. And other options we had in there were nothing. Echelon was the only option, but it sure was a good option. Boomerang and Strike Fund removed from game.
The boomerang removal is interesting to me.
But to be fair, the other options that were kept were Nuka and 2 Steel Skins. I think I think it's a hard sell to say instead of having a Steel Skin, I'd like my Boomerang back.
Yeah, it's rough and depends a lot on how you see the game, like on what you see the pivot point of the game as being.
All right, Cyberspace Panda. There's probably a high incentive to come check this card in server 4 to maybe spend these Fencer Fueno credits. But there's always a possibility that Jai is. Run server 4, check it, spend Fueno credits. It's too good to pass up. And it is just a doctor. But the most supremely ambitious call would have been to put a Fuji on the table and then just bet that you can move the Hollow Man over there next turn. Cyberspace Panda still paying to keep the Fueno. One day we'll get those credits. Jai with a ton of cards available, and we are on 4 agility points.
The Fino can trash everything in server 2 single-handedly, assuming it's possible to get in there.
Yeah, the runner's just low on cards. It's a very threatening. It's a very threatening state to be in against Jinteki. Jai could score blood in the water right now. I don't. It's not in the list, but
So there is the search of card room available, which does offer some roll on demand.
yeah. So if you have 4 cards in hand, if that's really important to you, and if Jai goes like with this many cards, you might expect that a moon pool play is available, and you could do that. This would take you even lower, and then you probably don't have to worry about the ice. Now, this is the danger of Netrunner. When Magic players get 7 cards in hand, they don't need to think. Half of it's lands. But here in Netrunner land, suddenly we have to think and meditate. Cohort continues churning through the deck. A third of the deck is in hand right now. It's still very unlikely that you can purge this turn or next turn, so it's possible Hoshugo gets to an extremely greedy fermenter. Hansei Review, awesome way to spend 2 cards for 1 on a turn that you have to discard anyways.
Yes, a little bit of efficiency.
Keeps the Alco train rolling.
Still 2 more cards to play, and then discard anyway, perhaps. Although, are there moonpools in this list? There could be a moonpool angle here, potentially.
This list does have moonpools, although if you're going to score from hand, you do need all your clicks for this. Ice Archives makes a lot of sense. And a new remote, it is finally time to consider doing some scoring, and then only have to discard 1 card to hand size. Managed to get out of that pretty cleanly. But still, no card on the table to threaten the runner with, apart from the ongoing money that this cohort is bringing you. Fueno up to 5 cards, really, really itching to destroy this remote. And cashing in the stone chip, now is an important time that you probably have to start tanking some cards to go do stuff. Cashing in the fermenter for 10, that's probably credits for the rest of the game. Banhar has been pointed at archives.
Not seeing a ton of ice being built up anywhere.
I mean, for asset decks, 6 is an enormous, 5 ice is an enormous amount of ice.
Yes.
Right. Make sure to prevent any corp dishonesty. Tatubola, of course, it will only do 1 damage. And Banhar secretly helping Alco out, charging it up. And all we saw that getting trashed was another FUT, a whole bunch of econ operations, and a Vampire Nasa. Jai, how could you? You threw out the squid? Gachapon, if that doesn't get the fracture, I don't know what will. But ultimately, just making sure nothing happens from an unchecked archives.
Is Spencer Credit still being kept? Up to 5 credits now.
I mean, currently, Fueno is the only way to charge up the twinning, for all that we've not been managing to go trash assets with it.
Mm-hmm. I will say 24 credits, like, between paying the upkeep for the Spencer Fuego and also paying Koshiko for that card draw. Like that will chip away at those 24 credits. Not incredibly quickly, but
Yeah, at some point, Hoshiko does just. You run out of cards, and then suddenly Hoshiko becomes this terrible tax on running. He's like, why was I paying for this the whole time? All right. Jai once again starts the turn with a ton of cards in hand, and Alco is still ready to do that next turn. Given that Vampire Nasa was discarded, surely Jai has ice available to start something in server 5. New card, I'm betting on Moonpool. Undo click. It may not be the Moonpool play. That may not be the Moonpool play. Okay. What's Jai about to do this turn? No one knows. Not even Jai. There's always the possibility that this Hollow Man goes forgotten and then suddenly slides over to a Fuji asset retrieval. All right, we are finally Alco Gaming. This looks like we're threatening FUT, and these look like the Jai's just threatening that these are going to be 2 snares or 2 stings. Something where all those fence or final credits don't matter because the real defense is this FUT in this remote and this ice that might cost you a lot of money. Trashes Gachapon, and we see, I think that's a whiff.
that is a whiff. Yes.
Well, I guess you at least get to remove 2 Banhars.
Yeah.
And second strike fund has been removed from the game.
Right, yes. Let's have to remove 3 because there was no hit.
very important turn, and Jai has just signaled that maybe you aren't going to be allowed to just spend all the Fueno credits this turn, and you do need to get started. Jai's ahead
Well,
on
I'm gonna
4 points.
yeah. I can still try checking these. This could be a double bluff. You spend your fencer Fredo credits, so you stop bleeding credits to fetch your Fredo, get the twinning counters. There's certainly a lot of potential upside here. The potential downside of walking into 2 stings and dying is also very real, of course, but
I'm a believer in the sting play. All right, server 2 targeted. And we are just going to see if there's one place where we know there's a bunch of trash costs.
this is true.
Anemone.
Is it an enemy?
Ooh. All right, how are we doing on the steel skins? No steel skins have been resolved yet. They still haven't. Lose but another buzzsaw, another echelon. All right, 1 credit. Oh no, Tattoo Bola. That's going to just actually end the run.
End the run.
Little armadillo that could.
It's a very good card.
All right, let's see what FUT is defended by.
So this has to come down and challenge the Fed at this point. I think it is just too dangerous to let cook.
That is super dangerous to let cook at these credit levels. Oh no, it's Boto. That's going to end the run and take you down to 0 cards. And still, no steel skins yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you come check these cards, you just die if it's an agenda.
So it is possibly just draw twice here, but that's very, yeah.
It's real unfortunate, but yeah, if these are agendas, this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't. We've landed in Alco prison again. Jai, of course, still has the ongoing option to power draw, keep triggering Alco. Now, for the rest of the game, you can draw 2 of the top 3 cards. Hollow Man moving over. Is this the... No. Hollow Man is just moving over to the Spin Doctor as a way to get onto somewhere where you don't have to trash the cohort. So this looks like we're scoring a 3-2 from hand.
3-2 from hand, possibly.
Or if this is a sting, the runner just dies. No, it's Regenesis.
This was a 3-1 from hand, but there might be a...
And unfortunately, slightly more.
Yes.
All right. Congratulations.
3-4 from hand.
Congratulations, Jai. That's a very decisive looking score area there. And Cyberspace had a very reasonable fear that it was a sting. And that is Jai, undefeated throughout the Swiss and the top cut. Jai truly is the people's champion. Good game.
Indeed. Well played to everyone, to all of our competitors in this tournament.
And Cyberspace Panda also, of course, made a very good run coming up all the way through the lower bracket to get the chance to fight for tops or the top bracket. And it being pointed out, 3 of the top 4 is from APAC. We're not letting any of these Canadians come take the crown. And we are hearing the deck building explanation, like why Echelon? And Jai says no influence your game dragon, and wants 3 strength on the killer. I think that is going to wrap us up. It is starting to get late at night for both me and you commentating from the
Yes,
United
indeed, it
States.
is just shy of 1 in the morning where I am,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
part of why my commentary has flagged a bit on this last round. I have it was a very good tournament, and congratulations to our winners and
This
to all of our
time.
players for some excellently played games.
Yeah, and
It
this
was
time.
truly a pleasure to spectate and commentate.
Yeah. This time I've remembered to not accidentally show a placeholder. So with that in mind, with that in mind, have a good night. Thanks everyone for watching, and always be running.